In 2021, Seiko discontinued the SKX. About $200, a movement so basic it could not even stop the seconds hand to set the time. And it still ran for 25 years and pulled more people into watches than any luxury ad ever managed. When Seiko put it down for good, the forums read like an obituary. So there is really only one place to start a list of first watches actually worth your money, and that is the watch Seiko built to bury it. But a fair warning up front, the Seiko is where you start. It is not the one on this list I would tell you to save up for. That watch is coming. It costs about 4 times as much, and there is a reason for that. Number 1. The Seiko 5 Sports. So Seiko takes the SKX, keeps the shape, the 4 o'clock crown, the fat little diver silhouette everyone loved, and drops in a modern engine. That engine is the 4R36, and it fixes the two things people quietly complained about for 25 years. It hacks, meaning the seconds hand stops when you pull the crown so you can set the time to the exact second, and it hand winds so you can top it up without shaking it awake. The old movement did neither. You would think that would be the headline, but here is what Seiko does not put on the box. They also quietly dropped the water resistance. The old SKX was rated to 200 meters and carried a real dive certification. The new 5 Sports is 100 meters and carries none of that. For a watch nobody is actually diving in, fine. But it is a downgrade, and the marketing will never mention it. That is the kind of honesty you want going into your first watch, because every brand is selling you the upgrade and hiding the trade. Now the part that matters for a first watch: price. The 5 Sports lands in the mid-hundreds, often under $300 new. And for that, you get an automatic movement you can watch spinning through a see-through caseback, a day and date, drilled lugs so you can swap the strap in about 30 seconds, and roughly 40 hours of power reserve. Nothing here is precious. You can wear it in the shower, knock it on a door frame, learn how a mechanical watch actually feels, and if you hate it, you are out the price of a decent pair of shoes. That is the whole point of a first watch. Low stakes, real mechanics, zero anxiety. The 5 Sports will not be the most accurate thing you ever own. Older Seikos of this type could drift 20 or 30 seconds a day, and the new one is better, but still no chronometer. What it will do is teach you whether you even like this. Plenty of people who fell down this rabbit hole started right about here, holding a Seiko, realizing the second hand does not tick, it glides. And once that clicks, the $200 watch stops being enough. Which is exactly how a young French guy with a Kickstarter and his dad's watch collection ends up on this list. Number 2. The Baltic Aquascaphe. In 2017, a young Frenchman named Etienne Malek started a watch brand to honor his father, an obsessive collector. He funded the first watches on Kickstarter, which usually ends in tears and a spreadsheet of refunds. This one did not. A year later, he released a dive watch called the Aquascaphe, and it quietly became one of the most respected watches under $1,000 anywhere. Here is what around $700 gets you. A 39mm steel diver, styled after the skin divers of the 1950s and 60s, back before dive watches turned into dinner plates. Double-domed sapphire crystal on top. And the detail enthusiasts lose their minds over. The bezel insert, that ring around the dial, is also sapphire. On watches costing 5 and 10 times as much, that insert is usually aluminum or ceramic. Sapphire is close to unscratchable, and Baltic put it on a $700 watch. The movement is a Miyota 90039, Japanese. And here is a decision most brands are too nervous to make. Baltic left the date off completely. No little window chopping up the dial, no fake date position where the crown clicks into nothing. It is a cleaner, more honest dial than you get on plenty of watches at 4 figures, and it drives 200 meters of water resistance with a proper screw-down crown. This one you can actually swim with. The movement itself is nothing exotic. It runs about 42 hours of reserve, and it will not keep time like a Swiss chronometer, and Baltic will tell you that to your face. What they spent the money on is everything you touch and see. The case finishing, the sapphire, the dial, the bracelet options. That is a real philosophy for a first nice watch. Put the budget where your eyes are, not where the spec sheet brags. The one catch is that you buy it directly from Baltic's own site. No walking into a store, no trying it on first. In 2025, they replaced the original with an updated version in 2 sizes, a compact 37 and a slightly bigger 39.5, so smaller wrists got a real option too. So that is the microbrand move. A tiny French company out-detailing the giants on the exact stuff that touches your skin. Which raises an obvious question. What happens when a brand with 60 years of engineering decides to build the same idea and take it seriously? You get a watch a lot of people never upgrade away from, and it is the one I told you to wait for.
Number 3. The Sinn 556. Sinn is a German company founded in 1961 by a pilot and flight instructor named Helmut Sinn. They are famous for engineering that borders on obsessive. Cases hardened so they barely scratch, capsules inside the case that pull moisture out of the air, gas-filled interiors, the works. Serious tool watch stuff. The 556 has almost none of it, and that is the point. This is Sinn stripped down to the essentials, and it is the watch that turns curious beginners into people who own 8 watches. You get 38.5mm of satin-finished steel, a case so cleanly made that reviewers compare the edges to machined parts. A deep gloss black dial with sword hands lifted straight off aircraft instruments. Sapphire crystal front and back, with anti-reflective coating so good the glass basically vanishes and you feel like you are touching the dial. Then you check the water resistance and it stops making sense. This is a slim, dressy, wear-it-with-anything watch, and it is rated to 200 meters. That is full dive watch depth on something that looks at home under a shirt cuff. Sinn did not have to do that. They did it because that is who they are. Inside is a Swiss automatic, a proven workhorse they buy in and then regulate themselves, finished with a gold rotor you can see through the back. Here is why this one sits in the middle of the list instead of the end. For a huge number of people, the 556 is the watch where the search just stops. Not because they cannot afford more, because they put it on and realize there is nothing left to fix. Right size, right weight, legible in a way most luxury watches are not, and built like it owes you money. People spend years and thousands of dollars wandering back to exactly this. It runs somewhere around $1,300 to $1,400, and prices have crept up lately, so you will see them higher on the used market. In the US, there is basically one dealer for the brand, which is its own small hassle. But buy this as your first real watch, and there is a genuine chance you never feel the itch to trade up. That is either the best possible outcome or the most expensive one, depending on how you look at it. That is the marquee, the one people keep. I told you at the start it was coming and that it cost about 4 times the Seiko. Now you know why. Quick one before the back half. If you want more straight watch talk like this, hit subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel, and I put these out every week. Because so far, everything on this list has been a tool. A diver, a sports watch. The next one throws out the rule book. It hands you a look that normally costs 5 figures, and it pulls off a trick most watch brands cannot manage at any price. Number 4. The Citizen Series 8. Everyone knows Citizen for cheap quartz and solar watches you grab at the airport, and that reputation is about to cost them. Because the Series 8 is Citizen quietly building a proper mechanical sports watch and pricing it like they are almost embarrassed about it. Start with the look. It is that integrated bracelet, sharp-edged octagonal case design, the style made famous by watches that cost $15,000, $20,000, $50,000. The Series 8 gives you that entire aesthetic, the faceted case flowing straight into an H-link bracelet for a little over $1,000. And it is not a flat, stamped copy. The case has real depth, brushed and polished surfaces cutting against each other, a dial textured after the Tokyo skyline. Under the back is an in-house automatic movement Citizen built themselves, the caliber 9051, and it does something the price does not suggest. It shrugs off magnetism. Citizen rates it to survive magnetic fields that would leave a normal mechanical watch running minutes fast every day. Your laptop, your phone, the magnetic clasp on your bag, all the invisible stuff quietly wrecking cheaper automatics, and this one just ignores it. That is real engineering, not a sticker, and you can watch the movement work through a sapphire caseback. Is it perfect? No.
The accuracy is rated looser than the Sinn, roughly -10 to +20 seconds a day, which is fine but not chronometer territory. The bracelet barely tapers, which some people find a touch chunky. And the entry model gives you 100 meters of water resistance, plenty for real life, less than the divers earlier on this list. But look at what it is actually doing. It hands a first-time buyer the one look in all of watches that is almost always locked behind a 5-figure price, wraps it around an in-house movement that resists magnetism better than watches 10 times the cost, and asks a little over $1,000. Nothing else does exactly that at this money. If the Sinn is the watch you keep forever, the Citizen is the watch that makes people at the table lean over and ask what it is. And it works because it dresses up and it dresses down. Which is a strange bridge to the watch that finishes this off, because that one only does a single job. It does not swim. It does not go to the gym. It is not trying to. And it might be the most quietly impressive piece here.
Number 5. The Mido Baroncelli. Mido is a Swiss brand from 1918 that most Americans have never heard of, which is exactly why it is one of the best values in all of Switzerland. There is no hype tax baked into the price. The Baroncelli is their dress watch, and it has been in the lineup since 1976. So this is a design that survived almost 50 years of trends without ever needing to shout. Set expectations first, because honesty is the whole brand here. This is a dress watch. It is rated to 30 meters, which in plain terms means do not swim in it and do not shower in it. It is thin, it is elegant. It slips under a cuff and disappears. If your life is gym shorts and hiking trails, this is the wrong watch and I would point you back up the list. But if you own one suit, or you have a wedding, a funeral, an interview, a first date, and you want a watch that says you are a grown-up without screaming that you are rich, look at what this pulls off. It starts around $1,000, and inside is the thing that makes watch people respect Mido, their caliber 80 movement. A conventional automatic gives you roughly 2 days of power when you take it off. The caliber 80 gives you 80 hours, more than 3 full days. Set it down Friday night, and it is still ticking Monday morning. On the nicer versions, Mido gets that movement certified as a chronometer by the official Swiss testing body, the same certification stamped on watches costing many times more. So you are getting genuine Swiss chronometer accuracy and a 3-day reserve in a slim dress watch, starting around 4 figures. Even the design has a story. That stepped bezel is a nod to a glass-roofed shopping gallery in Milan, a very Italian idea built with very Swiss precision. The reason this one sits where it does is not that it is the least of these. It is that it teaches the lesson the others cannot. A watch is not only a tool. Sometimes the whole point is quiet, thin, and dressed for a moment that matters. And doing that well is harder than it looks. A dive watch just has to be tough. A dress watch has to be right. So the real question was never which of these 5 to buy. It is which kind of watch person you are, and after the last few minutes, you probably already know. Want in cheap and low risk? The Seiko. Want the details that make enthusiasts nod? The Baltic. Want the one you might never replace? The Sinn. Want the look that costs a fortune everywhere else? The Citizen. Want to grow up a little on the wrist? The Mido. You do not need all 5, you need the first one. Buy it, wear it every single day, and see if a secondhand that glides instead of ticks does to you what it did to the rest of us. Tell me your first watch down in the comments, the good one and the regrettable one. I actually read them.